6 months after the first encounter, the border between human and apex space had become very active. Small skirmishes happened regularly as both sides tested each other. But something strange was occurring. The humans kept winning, not every battle, but enough to worry the Apex High Council. Human ships were smaller and weaker, yet they consistently outmaneuvered Apex forces. The Apex studied every battle record carefully, looking for patterns. They found one. Before every engagement, human commanders were observed consuming coffee, sometimes alone, sometimes with their crew, but it was always there, always present before battle. Commander Quan stood on the bridge of his scout ship, the Morning Star. He was reading reports of another successful mission. His small flotilla had driven off an Apex patrol group twice their size. Commander, we're receiving a priority message from Fleet Command, his communications officer said. Quan took the message tablet. As he read, he sipped his coffee absently. It was his third cup of the day. The message was interesting. Fleet Command was reporting that the Apex were studying human pre-battle rituals intensely. They were specifically focused on coffee consumption. They think coffee gives us superpowers, Quan muttered. That's the strangest intelligence report I've ever read. But if the Apex wanted to believe that, Quan wasn't going to correct them. He finished his coffee and went back to work. In Apex space, Battlemaster Threx was frustrated. He was a skilled commander who had won dozens of battles, but recently he had lost 3 encounters with human forces. 3. It was humiliating. Threx studied every piece of information about humans he could find. He read High Scholar Vrin's paper 5 times. He watched video recordings of humans preparing coffee.
He analyzed the chemical structure of caffeine. Finally, Threx came to a decision.
If coffee gave humans an advantage in battle, he would try it himself. The Apex Empire had obtained samples of coffee beans through trade channels. Threx ordered some delivered to his flagship. Battlemaster, his medical officer said, we don't know how coffee will affect Apex biology. It could be dangerous. The humans drink it constantly, Threx said. How dangerous can it be? If it helps them win battles, I need to understand it. The next day, before a scheduled patrol, Threx prepared coffee exactly as he had seen humans do. He ground the beans, heated the water to the precise temperature, and let it brew. The smell was strange, but not unpleasant. He poured a cup and drank it. For the first few minutes, nothing happened. Then Threx began to feel strange. His heart started beating faster. His 4 eyes couldn't focus properly. His hands started shaking. Battlemaster, are you well? His second-in-command asked. I'm fine, Threx said, but he wasn't. The caffeine was hitting his system hard. Apex biology processed stimulants very differently than humans. What made a human alert and focused made an Apex paranoid and erratic. Sir, we're detecting 3 human ships ahead. Scout-class vessels. Threx stood up too quickly and stumbled. Attack them.
Attack now. Full weapons.
But sir, they're in neutral space. Our orders are, I said attack. Threx shouted. His mind was racing. Everything seemed like a threat. The coffee had made him jittery and aggressive, not calm and focused like it did for humans. The battle was a disaster. Threx's fleet charged at the human ships recklessly. Commander Quan, watching from the Morning Star, was confused by the aggressive Apex tactics. They were attacking without strategy, just blind aggression. They're making it too easy, Quan said. Something's wrong with them. Take advantage of it. Fire at their lead ship's engines. The human flotilla easily defeated Threx's fleet. The Apex ships retreated in disarray. On his flagship, Threx collapsed into his command chair, sweating and shaking. The coffee had worn off, leaving him exhausted and defeated. When Threx reported to the High Council, he was honest about what happened. I consumed coffee before the battle, trying to gain the same advantages as humans, but it had the opposite effect. It made me unstable and irrational. We lost because of my foolishness. The council listened carefully. High Scholar Vrin was also present. This is significant, Vrin said. It confirms our theory. Coffee is not simply a beverage. It is something humans have evolved to use. Their biology has adapted over many generations to process caffeine effectively. For us, it is a poison. For them, it is a tool. The council leader nodded. Then humans are even more impressive than we thought. They have integrated a powerful stimulant into their culture and biology. No wonder they fight so effectively. Battlemaster Threx, you are not at fault. You tried to learn from our adversaries. That is commendable. But now we know. The coffee ritual is specific to human physiology. We cannot replicate it. This conclusion spread quickly through Apex military channels. Coffee was now seen as proof of human uniqueness. Only humans could safely consume it. Only humans could gain its benefits. On a distant colony world, Private Rena was on patrol duty with her squad. They encountered an Apex ground unit at a border checkpoint. Both sides were armed, but neither wanted to start a fight. The peace treaty was still being negotiated. The Apex commander approached under a flag of truce. "Human soldiers," the Apex said, "we wish to observe your daily routines." For cultural understanding, Rena's sergeant shrugged. "Sure, we're just having a break anyway." Rena pulled out her portable coffee maker. It was a small device that could heat water and brew coffee anywhere. She began making a fresh pot while the Apex watched. One young Apex warrior stepped closer, curious. "Is that the courage ritual?" the warrior asked. "It's just coffee," Rena said. "Want to try some?" The Apex warrior looked at his commander, who nodded. The warrior carefully took a cup of coffee from Rena. He sniffed it, then took a small sip. Within minutes, the Apex warrior was pacing back and forth, talking rapidly, his eyes darting everywhere. "I feel strange. Everything is moving too fast. Why is everything moving too fast?" His commander sighed. "See? This is what Battlemaster Threx experienced. Coffee affects us badly." He looked at Rena. "How can you humans drink this? It's like liquid chaos." Rena took a sip of her own coffee. "Tastes fine to me. Makes me feel more awake." Other Apex soldiers tried small amounts. They all had similar reactions. Increased heart rate, anxiety, shaking, paranoia. One Apex soldier declared, "This is a weapon." "How do humans consume this willingly?" Rena's sergeant laughed. "It's not a weapon. We just like it. Been drinking coffee for hundreds of years." The Apex commander shook his head in amazement. "Hundreds of years of consuming this substance. Your species must have incredible tolerance, or incredible courage." He paused. "Or perhaps both." After the Apex left, Rena's sergeant turned to her. "Private, I think you just convinced them that we're tougher than we actually are." "I just shared coffee, sir." "Exactly. And to them that's like sharing poison. They think we're crazy enough to drink something dangerous every single day. Multiple times a day." News of this encounter reached the Apex High Council. Combined with Battlemaster Threx's experience, it painted a clear picture. Humans were a species that consumed a powerful stimulant as casually as water. They had built their entire military culture around it. They used it before every battle, before every important decision. One Apex scientist wrote a report titled, "Human Biochemical Adaptation to Combat Stimulants: An Evolutionary Perspective." The report theorized that early humans must have faced extremely dangerous conditions. To survive, they evolved the ability to consume caffeine without ill effects. Over time, this became integrated into their culture. The coffee ritual was both a practical tool and a reminder of their ancestors' struggles. Again, none of this was true. Humans just liked the taste and needed the energy boost. But the Apex believed it completely. The Apex High Council held an emergency session. "Fellow council members," the leader said, "we have underestimated humanity significantly. They are not just skilled warriors. They are a species that has weaponized their own biology. They consume substances that would incapacitate us. They perform rituals that enhance their combat abilities. And they do all of this as casually as breathing. What do you propose?" Another council member asked. "We propose alliance. If humans are this formidable, we do not want them as enemies. We want them as allies. Together, the Apex and humanity could be unstoppable." The vote was unanimous. The Apex High Council sent a formal proposal to Earth. They offered a full military alliance, complete with shared technology, joint operations, and mutual defense agreements. When Earth's government received the proposal, there was confusion, then laughter, then serious consideration. "They want to ally with us because they think we're coffee-powered super soldiers," one diplomat said. "Do we tell them the truth? Why? If they want to believe we're special because we drink coffee, let them. The alliance terms are incredible. We gain access to Apex technology and military support, all because Captain Tay needed caffeine before a battle. The alliance was approved. Humanity and the Apex began the process of becoming partners. Joint military bases were planned. Exchange programs were established. Cultural missions were organized, and everywhere humans went, they brought coffee. The Apex watched in continued amazement as humans consumed cup after cup, seemingly unaffected, always sharp and ready. The legend of the coffee ritual of courage had become galactic fact, at least in Apex minds. The Apex battlecruiser fired first. A massive energy beam cut through space toward the Steadfast Hope. Captain Tay watched it coming on his screen. "Now," he shouted. Lieutenant Yuna's hands flew across her controls. The Steadfast Hope dropped suddenly, diving under the beam. The ship's engines screamed as they pushed to maximum power. Tay felt himself pressed back into his chair from the force. "Civilian ships scatter pattern Omega," Specialist Wu transmitted. The 5 civilian vessels broke formation and flew in different directions. This was what Tay had planned. The Apex would focus on him, the military ship, and ignore the unarmed transports. War Prime Kelthros watched the human ship dodge his first shot. "Interesting, again, fire!" But the Steadfast Hope was already moving. Tay had studied Apex battle tactics for years. They were strong and honorable, but they were also predictable. They believed in direct confrontation. They would never expect a weaker ship to attack them. "Yuna, pattern Delta 7, Tay said calmly. The Steadfast Hope curved around in a wide arc, its engines burning hard. The Apex battlecruiser turned to follow, but the human ship was smaller and more agile. Tay brought his vessel around behind the Apex ship. "Fire all weapons at their engine section. Target the heat vents," Tay ordered. The Steadfast Hope's weapons were weak compared to Apex guns, but Tay wasn't trying to destroy the battlecruiser. He was trying to disable it. The human missile struck the Apex ship's engine vents perfectly. Superheated gas exploded outward. The Apex battlecruiser lurched sideways. On the Apex bridge, alarms were blaring. Kelthros grabbed his command chair to steady himself. "Damage report. Engine 3 is offline. The human targeted our cooling systems. Engine 4 is overheating. If we don't shut it down, it will explode." Kelthros stared at the screen. The small human ship was circling around again. How had they known exactly where to strike? The engine vents were a tiny weak point. Most enemies never even found them during battle. Evasive maneuvers. "Return fire." But the Steadfast Hope was already moving again. Tay watched his screen carefully. The caffeine in his system kept his thoughts sharp and quick. He could see 3 moves ahead, predicting what the Apex would do. "Wu, send a message to the civilian ships. Tell them to jump to faster than light speed on my signal." "Yes, Captain." The battle continued for 20 minutes. The Steadfast Hope dodged and weaved through space. Several times, Apex weapons came close to hitting the human ship. Tay could feel sweat on his forehead, but his hands were steady. Every time the Apex fired, he was already somewhere else. Sub-Commander Hana had joined them on the bridge. She was Tay's second in command and had served with him for 3 years. She knew him well enough to understand what he was doing. "Captain, their weapons are overheating. They've been firing too much," Hana reported from her station. "Perfect," Tay said. "One more pass. Yuna, bring us around their port side. Fire everything we have at their weapon arrays." The Steadfast Hope made its final attack run. The ship's weapons, powered by energy diverted from other systems, fired continuously. The Apex battlecruiser's weapon systems exploded in bright flashes. Kelthros watched in shock as his ship was systematically disabled. "War Prime, all weapons offline. Engines 3 and 4 destroyed. We cannot maneuver properly." For the first time in his military career, War Prime Kelthros had been defeated. His ship was crippled but not destroyed. The human commander could have killed them all but had chosen not to. This was honorable. On the Steadfast Hope's bridge, Ensign Mina ran onto the bridge from engineering. She was young and excited. "Captain, we did it. The Apex ship is disabled." "Good work, everyone," Tay said. He was tired again. The adrenaline was fading. "Wu, signal the civilian ships. Tell them to jump away now while they can." "Done, sir." "They're acknowledging. Jumping in 10 seconds. Tay watched as the 5 civilian ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel. They were safe. That was what mattered. He had bought time with coffee and won the battle with tactics. "Captain, the Apex are hailing us," Wu said. "Put them through." War Prime Kelthros appeared on screen. His armor was scorched from the fighting. Behind him, the Apex bridge was filled with smoke. But Kelthros stood tall and proud. "Human commander, you have defeated me. This has never happened before. No species has ever bested an Apex battlecruiser in single combat. I must know. What is your name?" "Captain Tay of the Terran Colonial Fleet." "Captain Tay, before the battle you performed a sacred ritual. You heated a dark liquid and consumed it. You meditated alone. I watched you on our sensors. What was this ceremony? It must be powerful magic to grant such skill in battle. Tay blinked. Sacred ritual. He had just been making coffee. He opened his mouth to explain, but Sub-Commander Hana interrupted. War Prime Kelthros, Hana said smoothly, stepping forward. What the captain performed is an ancient Terran practice. It brings clarity to the mind and courage to the heart. We have used this ritual for many generations. Tai looked at Hana. She gave him a tiny nod. She was helping maintain the mystery. If the Apex thought humans had some special ritual, maybe they would think twice before attacking again. Ensign Mina, not understanding the situation, added enthusiastically, "Oh yes. Captain Tay never fights without it. It's been part of our military tradition for centuries. All our best commanders do it before battle." Kelthros listened carefully. His 4 eyes glowed with interest. A ritual passed down through generations, one that prepares warriors for combat. This explains much. Your tactics were flawless. Your movements were precise. The ritual gave you these abilities. Something like that, Tay said, deciding to go along with it. War Prime, will you attack us again? Kelthros shook his head. No, you fought with honor. You could have destroyed my ship, but you chose to disable it instead. You showed mercy. This is the mark of a true warrior. I will report to the Apex High Council that humans are a worthy species. We will not attack your ships again without cause. Thank you, War Prime. But know this, Captain Tay. The Apex will study your people. We will learn about this coffee ritual and what makes humans so formidable in battle. You have earned our respect, and that is rare. Farewell. The screen went dark. Specialist Wu turned in his chair. Captain, did we just accidentally convince them that coffee is a magic battle ritual? Tay sat down heavily. I think we did, Hana smiled. Maybe it's better this way. Let them think we have secrets. Let them wonder what else humans can do. But sir, Mina said, it was just coffee, right? I mean, it's not actually magic. Tay looked at his empty cup sitting in the holder on his chair. Mina, after 3 weeks of patrol and no sleep, coffee feels like magic. And today it might have saved all our lives. Across Apex space, the news traveled fast. War Prime Kelthros had been defeated by a human commander. Before the battle, the human had performed something called the Coffee Ritual of Courage. It granted clarity and precision in combat. The Apex High Council received the report. They gathered in their war chambers to discuss this new development. Humans, a species they had barely noticed before, had proven themselves in battle. We must learn more about these humans, the council leader declared. If their rituals grant such power, we need to understand them. Perhaps they could be valuable allies, or dangerous enemies. Orders went out across the Apex Empire. Study the humans. Learn their ways. Discover the secret of their battle rituals. No one suspected that the great mystery they were investigating was simply a tired captain who really needed his morning coffee. 3 months had passed since Captain Tay's encounter with War Prime Kelthros. The story had spread across both human and Apex territories. The Terran colonial fleet was confused about why the Apex suddenly seemed interested in their coffee breaks. The Apex, meanwhile, were deeply invested in understanding what they called the sacred preparation ritual. Ambassador Gia sat in her quarters aboard the diplomatic shuttle heading toward Apex space. She had been chosen to negotiate a formal peace treaty with the Apex High Council. It was supposed to be a difficult assignment. The Apex rarely negotiated with anyone. Usually they just demanded surrender, but the reports from the border were strange. The Apex were being almost polite. Ambassador, we're approaching the diplomatic station, her pilot announced. Gia stood and straightened her formal suit. Behind her, Lieutenant Sung checked his weapons. He was her security detail, a serious man who took his job very seriously. He also happened to love coffee. Lieutenant, remember, Gia said, we're here to make peace, not fight. Yes, ma'am. But I stay armed anyway. The shuttle docked at the massive Apex diplomatic station. It was a huge structure built for meetings between different species. As Gia and Sung walked down the ramp, they were met by a group of Apex officials. Leading them was someone who introduced himself as High Scholar Vryn. Vryn was different from the warriors Gia had seen in videos. He wore robes instead of armor. His 4 eyes blinked independently as he studied the humans. Ambassador Gia, Vryn said in surprisingly good English. Welcome. The Apex High Council is honored by your presence. We have prepared chambers for you and your warrior companion. Warrior companion? Jia looked at Sung. He's my security officer, not a warrior. Of course, Vryn said, but his eyes lingered on Sung in a way that made Jia uncomfortable. Please follow me to the conference chamber. The conference room was enormous. One entire wall was a window showing the stars outside. A long table dominated the center. Apex officials sat on one side. They stood when the humans entered, which surprised Jia. The Apex almost never showed this kind of respect to other species. Please sit, an Apex wearing golden armor said. I am Council Diplomat Rax. We are pleased to begin negotiations. Jia sat down. Sung stood behind her as was protocol. She opened her tablet and began reviewing the treaty terms. As she read, she noticed the Apex watching her carefully. It was unnerving. The terms seemed generous, Jia said carefully. The Apex were offering much more than she expected. Trade rights, territory agreements, mutual defense pacts. May I ask why? Your species has proven itself worthy, Rax said simply. War Prime Kelthros reported that Captain Tay fought with great honor and skill. We respect strength. We respect tradition. Therefore, we wish to be allies with humanity, not enemies. High Scholar Vryn leaned forward. Ambassador, if I may ask, do all human commanders perform the preparation ritual before important events, or only before combat? Jia frowned. I'm sorry, what preparation ritual? Vryn looked confused. The coffee ritual, the sacred ceremony that grants clarity and courage. Captain Tay performed it before defeating War Prime Kelthros. Surely you know of this? Jia tried not to laugh. She had read the full report of Tay's battle. She knew he had made coffee during the preparation time, but a sacred ritual? That was ridiculous. Well, Jia said carefully, coffee is certainly important to human culture. Many of us drink it daily. The Apex looked at each other. Vryn pulled out a tablet and began making notes frantically. Daily? Rax said. You perform the ritual every day? This explains much about human efficiency. Behind Jia, Lieutenant Sung's stomach growled. The meeting had been going for 2 hours. He quietly stepped away from his position and walked to a small break area at the side of the conference room. There was a coffee maker there, provided for human visitors. Sung began making coffee. He didn't think anything of it. He was tired and needed caffeine. High Scholar Vryn's eyes went wide. He stood up from his chair, watching Sung intently. The other Apex followed his gaze. The warrior is preparing, Vryn whispered. Look at his movements. So precise, so careful. Sung was just making coffee the way he always did. Grind the beans, measure the water, set the temperature. He hummed quietly to himself, completely unaware that 10 Apex officials were watching his every move. Jia noticed the change in atmosphere. Is something wrong? No, nothing wrong, Rax said, his eyes still on Sung. We are simply observing. It is rare to witness the ritual performed so casually. Your warrior must be very experienced. He's making coffee, Jia said flatly. Yes, Vryn agreed. The sacred grounds of courage. The dark brew that brings clarity. It is fascinating to see it prepared in person. Sung finished making his coffee and walked back to his position. He took a sip and immediately felt more alert. The Apex watched him like he had performed some kind of magic trick. Jia realized something important. The Apex actually believed coffee was some kind of mystical ritual. They thought it gave humans special abilities. She could correct them, tell them the truth, or she could use this misunderstanding to humanity's advantage. Perhaps, Jia said carefully, we should all take a coffee break. It's a human tradition during long negotiations. Helps us think more clearly. The Apex shifted in their seats. Rax looked uncertain. You wish to prepare yourselves spiritually during our talks? Is this a challenge to our diplomatic resolve? No, Jia said quickly. It's just a break, a pause. To refresh ourselves. Vryn said, making more notes. A strategic use of the ritual. Fascinating. Yes, take your break, Ambassador. We will wait. Jia stood and walked over to the coffee area. Sung handed her a cup he had already prepared. She whispered to him, They think coffee is a magic ritual. Just go with it. What? That's crazy, I know, but it's working in our favor. Look how respectful they're being. When the negotiations resumed, the atmosphere had changed completely. The Apex were even more accommodating. They agreed to terms that strongly favored humanity. Jia couldn't believe her luck. As the session ended, High Scholar Vryn approached her. Ambassador Jia, I have a request. I am writing a research paper about human culture. specifically about your battle rituals and preparation ceremonies. Would you be willing to answer some questions? Gia thought about it. What kind of questions? Everything about coffee. Its origins, its preparation methods, its significance in your military structure. I wish to understand why it is so important to your species. Coffee is a beverage, Gia said. A drink made from roasted beans. It contains caffeine, which is a stimulant. It helps us stay awake and alert. Vryn's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Yes, but what about the spiritual significance? The ritual preparation? The meditation during consumption? Gia sighed. She could explain that there was no spiritual significance, that humans just really liked coffee because it tasted good and helped them wake up. But the more she talked, the more she realized the Apex were never going to believe her. Scholar Vryn, coffee means different things to different humans. For some, it's just a drink. For others, it's a daily ritual that helps them prepare for their day. The military has a long tradition of coffee drinking because it keeps soldiers alert during long missions. Vryn typed everything she said into his tablet. Remarkable. So it serves both practical and ceremonial purposes. And it has been integrated into your military culture for many generations? Centuries, actually. Since we first discovered the coffee plant on Earth. Centuries, Vryn repeated with awe. A tradition passed down through time, refined and perfected. No wonder it grants such benefits. Over the following weeks, High Scholar Vryn published his research paper. It was titled The Dark Brew of Human Fearlessness, an analysis of Terran battle psychology. The paper spread across Apex space like wildfire. Every Apex military academy began studying it. Officers debated its contents. Scientists tried to understand the chemical properties of caffeine and why it affected humans so positively. The paper concluded that humans had evolved alongside coffee, that their biology had adapted to use caffeine as a combat enhancer, that the ritual of preparation was as important as the drink itself, serving to focus the mind and strengthen resolve. None of it was true. But the Apex believed it completely. Back on Earth, Ambassador Gia submitted her report to the Colonial Fleet Command. The negotiations were successful, she wrote. The Apex are offering extremely favorable terms for a peace treaty and alliance. I believe this is because they have a fundamental misunderstanding about human culture. They think coffee consumption is a sacred warrior ritual. I recommend we neither confirm nor deny this belief. Let them think what they want. It's working in our favor. The Fleet Command read her report with confusion, then amusement, then careful consideration. If the Apex want to think we're mystical coffee warriors, one admiral said, who are we to argue? Approve the treaty. And someone send Captain Tay a bonus. He started this whole thing by being tired and wanting caffeine. Captain Tay rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the screen in front of him. 3 weeks of patrol duty in the Vorian Nebula had left him exhausted. His ship, the Steadfast Hope, was a colony vessel built for transport, not combat. Right now, it was escorting 5 civilian ships filled with families moving to the outer colonies. Captain, we have a problem, Lieutenant Yuna said from her station. Her voice was calm, but Tay could hear the worry underneath. Large vessel dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 200,000 kilometers ahead. Tay sat up straight. Identify! The main screen flickered and showed a massive ship. It was dark red with sharp angles and spikes covering its hull. Tay had seen these ships before in training videos. His stomach dropped. It's an Apex battlecruiser, Specialist Wu said from communications. The Talon of Dominion. Captain, they're hailing us. The Apex. The warrior race that controlled a huge part of this sector of space. They had never lost a battle. Every species that fought them either died or surrendered. They lived for combat and honor. Put them through, Tay said. The screen changed to show an Apex commander. The alien stood over 2 meters tall with dark armor covering its body. Its face was angular with 4 eyes that glowed red. When it spoke, its voice was deep and harsh. I am War Prime Kelthros of the Apex Empire. You have entered our territory without permission. Your weapons are weak. Your ship is slow. Surrender now or face me in ritual combat. These are your only choices. Tay kept his face blank. Inside, his mind was racing. The civilian ships had no weapons at all. If he surrendered, the Apex might take everyone prisoner. If he fought, they would all die. The Apex battlecruiser had enough firepower to destroy his ship in minutes. War Prime Kelthros, Tay said slowly. The Terran colonial fleet respects the warrior traditions of the Apex. Before we respond to your challenge, our military code requires a preparation period. We must ready ourselves according to our customs. This was complete nonsense. There was no such rule. But Tay needed time to think. He needed time to figure out how to save the civilian ships. The Apex commander tilted its head. On the screen, Tay could see other Apex warriors in the background. They were talking to each other in their own language. You have warrior customs? Kelthros asked. Your species is new to this sector. We know little of human traditions. Yes, Tay said, trying to sound confident. Before any battle, Terran officers must complete certain rituals. It is very important to our culture. The Apex warriors on the screen talked more. Kelthros seemed to think about this. The Apex valued honor and tradition above everything else. They respected other species who had warrior codes. Very well, Kelthros finally said. The Apex honor the traditions of worthy opponents. You have 1 hour to complete your preparations. Then we fight or you surrender. Do not try to run. My ship is faster than yours. The screen went dark. Captain, what preparation ritual? Yuna asked. We don't have any. I know, Tay said. He stood up from his chair. I bought us time. That's all. Now I need to think. He looked at Wu. Keep monitoring their ship. If they move, tell me immediately. Yes, sir. Tay walked off the bridge. His head hurt. He hadn't slept well in days. The ship's corridors were quiet as he made his way to the officers' mess hall. It was a small room with a few tables and a kitchen area. More importantly, it had a coffee maker. Tay needed coffee. He couldn't think properly without it. His hands moved automatically, measuring out the ground beans, filling the water reservoir, setting the temperature. The coffee maker was old but reliable. It had been with him for 5 years across 3 different ships. While the water heated, Tay sat down at a table. He closed his eyes and tried to think. What could he do? The Steadfast Hope had weapons, but they were weak compared to Apex technology. He couldn't outrun them. He couldn't hide. The civilian ships would slow him down even more. The coffee maker beeped. Tay stood and poured himself a large cup. The smell helped him focus. He took a sip. Hot, bitter, perfect. Back on the bridge, Yuna was studying the Apex ship carefully. Specialist Wu was running communication scans. Suddenly, Wu looked confused. Lieutenant, the Apex are scanning us. Specifically, they're focusing on the officers' mess hall. The mess hall? Why, I don't know. Wait. They're detecting chemical signatures. The coffee. Captain's making coffee, Yuna frowned. Why would they care about that? On the Apex battlecruiser, War Prime Kelthros was studying his own screens. His tactical officer had reported unusual activity on the human ship. War Prime, the human commander has gone to a specific chamber. He is heating a dark liquid containing complex organic compounds. The temperature is being controlled very precisely. The process is taking several minutes. Kelthros leaned forward. Show me. The screen showed a thermal image of Captain Tay sitting alone at a table holding a cup. The human's body temperature was steady. His movements were slow and deliberate. He appeared to be in some kind of meditation. Fascinating, Kelthros said. Record everything. The human said they have preparation rituals. This must be part of it. Another Apex warrior spoke up. War Prime, we intercepted a brief communication from their bridge. One of the humans said, Captain's doing his pre-battle thing. Kelthros's 4 eyes glowed brighter. Pre-battle thing. A ritual performed before combat. This human commander takes the time to prepare himself mentally and spiritually, even facing certain death. He turned to his crew. Perhaps these humans are more interesting than we thought. Back on the Steadfast Hope, Captain Tay finished his second cup of coffee. His mind was clearer now. He had an idea. It was risky, maybe crazy, but it might work. The Apex loved honor and direct combat. They always attacked from the front, always fought according to strict rules. That was their weakness. Tay walked back to the bridge. Yuna looked up as he entered. Captain, 30 minutes left. Good, Tay said. He sat in his chair and felt the caffeine sharpening his thoughts. Here's what we're going to do. Prepare the engines for emergency thrust. Route all power from life support in the cargo bays to the weapon systems. And program a pattern into the navigation computer. I'm sending you the coordinates now. Yuna looked at her screen. Her eyes went wide. Captain, this is crazy? Yes, but it's the only way. Tay smiled slightly. Trust me. The coffee helped. Wu glanced back from his station. Sir, did you just say the coffee helped? It always does, Tay said. Now let's show the Apex what humans can do. 15 minutes later, the hour was up. War Prime Kelthros's face appeared on the screen again. Human Commander, your time is over. What is your decision? Captain Tay stood. We choose combat, War Prime. Let's begin. And neither species was particularly interested in dispelling the myth. 1 year after the first encounter between Captain Tay and War Prime Kelthros, the Human Apex Alliance was officially forming. Admiral Yang had been chosen to represent humanity at a grand ceremony on the Apex homeworld. It was a tremendous honor. Admiral Yang was a practical man. He had spent 30 years in the Terran colonial fleet. He had fought pirates, explored unknown systems, and negotiated with dozens of alien species. He thought he had seen everything. He was not prepared for what awaited him on the Apex homeworld. The shuttle approached the planet, which was covered in red deserts and massive military installations. The Apex had built their entire civilization around warfare and honor. Cities were fortresses. Every building looked like it was designed to withstand an attack. Admiral, we're receiving landing coordinates, his pilot said. Dr. Yoon sat beside Yang. She was a xenobiologist who specialized in alien cultures. She had been studying the Apex for months, preparing for this mission. Admiral, I need to warn you about something, Dr. Yoon said. The Apex have built an entire mythology around our coffee drinking habits. They believe it's a sacred warrior ritual. They've written books about it. They teach it in their military academies, Yang sighed. I read the reports. It's absurd. We just like coffee. Yes, but they don't believe that. If you tell them it's just a beverage, they might see it as an insult. Like we've been deceiving them. Have we been deceiving them? Dr. Yoon considered this. Not intentionally. They jumped to their own conclusions. We just didn't correct them. The shuttle landed at a massive ceremonial plaza. Thousands of Apex warriors were gathered, all in formal armor. Banners flew in the wind. Drums beat in a rhythmic pattern. At the center of it all stood Supreme War Leader Draxus, the highest military authority in the Apex Empire. He was enormous, even for an Apex, wearing golden armor decorated with the symbols of 100 victories. Admiral Yang walked down the shuttle ramp. The Apex drums grew louder. Warriors saluted by striking their chests with their fists. Admiral Yang of the Terran Colonial Fleet, Draxus said in a deep, powerful voice. Welcome to the Apex homeworld. You honor us with your presence. Thank you, Supreme War Leader. I am honored to be here. Draxus gestured to the massive building behind him. Please come. We have prepared a great feast, and we have created something special for you. Inside the building, Yang saw something that made him stop in his tracks. One entire wing of the diplomatic hall had been converted into a coffee preparation area. There were dozens of different coffee makers, from simple brew pots to complex machines. Bags of coffee beans from across human space were displayed like precious artifacts. We wanted you to feel comfortable, Draxus said. We know the importance of the coffee ritual to your people. You may perform your preparations at any time. We will respect your traditions. Yang looked at Dr. Yoon, who gave him a subtle nod. Play along. This is very thoughtful, Yang said carefully. Thank you. The ceremony began. Apex officials gave speeches about honor, strength, and the new alliance. Yang gave his own speech about cooperation and mutual respect. Everything was going well. Then Draxus made an unexpected request. Admiral Yang, the Apex people have heard much about the coffee ritual. Many of us have never seen it performed by a true master. Would you honor us with a demonstration? We wish to understand the full ceremony. Yang felt trapped. He could refuse, but that might offend his hosts. He could explain that it wasn't really a ceremony, but that might damage the alliance. Or he could just make coffee and let them believe what they wanted. Of course, Yang said. It would be my honor. He walked to the coffee preparation area. Thousands of Apex eyes watched him. The room was completely silent. Yang felt like he was performing surgery, not making coffee. He selected a bag of beans from Earth. He measured them carefully into a grinder. He heated water to exactly 95 degrees Celsius. He let the coffee brew for 4 minutes. The Apex watched every movement. Some took notes. Others whispered to each other in their own language. When the coffee was ready, Yang poured himself a cup. He took a sip. It was good coffee, actually. The Apex had stored it properly. Remarkable, Draxus said. So much precision. So much care. Every movement has purpose. Well, Yang said, if you're going to make coffee, you might as well make it properly. Yes, exactly. Draxus seemed excited. You perform the ritual with full commitment, even though you have done it thousands of times. This is the mark of a true warrior. Never becoming careless, always maintaining focus. Yang realized he had accidentally reinforced their beliefs. He had been careful because everyone was watching, but they interpreted it as spiritual dedication. Later, during a private meeting, Draxus asked Yang more questions. Admiral, I must know, what does one think about during the coffee ritual? Is it meditation on mortality? Preparation for battle? Reflection on duty? Yang decided to be somewhat honest. Supreme War Leader, I'm going to tell you something. The coffee ritual is simpler than you might think. We don't use it to prepare for battle specifically. We use it to prepare for our day, any day. Every day, Draxus's 4 eyes blinked. You perform this ritual daily? Not just before combat. Most humans drink coffee every morning. Some drink it multiple times a day. It helps us wake up, helps us focus, helps us think clearly. It's part of our routine. Your routine, Draxus repeated slowly. So the ritual is not reserved for special occasions. It is integrated into every aspect of your lives. Well, yes. Draxus stood and walked to a window overlooking the city. This explains so much, Admiral. Humans are always ready, always prepared. You perform the ritual every day. So every day you are in a warrior mindset. You do not wait for battle to prepare yourselves. You are constantly sharp, constantly focused. This is why you are so formidable. That wasn't what Yang had meant at all. He tried again. Supreme War Leader, I need to be clear. Coffee is just a drink. It contains a stimulant called caffeine that makes us more alert. But it's not magic. It's not spiritual. It's just a beverage we enjoy. Draxus turned back to him. Of course it is not magic, Admiral. I did not mean to suggest primitive superstition. What I mean is that coffee is a tool, and you have mastered its use. The ritual of preparation, the careful measurement, the precise temperature, these things show discipline and dedication. Even in something as simple as making a drink, humans show the qualities of great warriors. Dr. Yun, who had been silent during the exchange, spoke up. Supreme War Leader, what Admiral Yang is trying to say is that coffee is culturally significant to us, yes. It does provide benefits through caffeine. But we don't consider it a courage ritual. We just think of it as coffee. Draxus nodded. I understand. You have lived with this tradition for so long that it has become ordinary to you. But to outsiders like us, it is extraordinary. You consume a powerful stimulant daily without thought. You have built your entire culture around maintaining constant readiness. Whether you see it as sacred or mundane does not change its effectiveness. Yang realized they were going in circles. The Apex had made up their minds. They had created an entire framework of understanding around coffee, and nothing Yang said would change it. Perhaps, Dr. Yun said carefully, we simply have different perspectives. Humans see coffee as a practical tool that happens to be enjoyable. The Apex see it as evidence of human discipline and adaptability. Both perspectives are valid. Wisely said, Draxus agreed. And it does not matter which interpretation is correct. What matters is results. Humans are excellent warriors and valuable allies. The reason for your excellence is less important than the fact of it. That evening, Yang and Dr. Yun sat in their quarters reviewing the day. Well, Yang said, we tried to tell them the truth. Did we, though? Dr. Yun asked. We told them coffee isn't magic, but they still think there's something special about how we use it. And maybe they're not completely wrong. Coffee is important to human culture. It does help us function better. The ritual of making it, sharing it with others, taking breaks together. There's meaning in that, even if it's not the meaning they think. So we just let them believe what they want? Why not? The alliance is strong. They respect us. We respect them. If they want to think we're impressive because we drink coffee, that's fine. It's not hurting anyone. Yang thought about this. He thought about Captain Tay, who started this whole thing by being tired and needing caffeine. He thought about all the humans who had accidentally built a reputation as coffee warriors just by doing what they always did. You're right, Yang said finally. Besides, the coffee they provided really was excellent. If the Apex want to study our coffee culture and provide us with premium beans, I'm not going to complain. Dr. Yun laughed. Imagine if they find out the truth in 100 years. that the great human apex alliance was built on a misunderstanding about beverages. They might laugh, or they might not care. By then, the alliance will be real enough that the reasons for starting it won't matter. The next day, the formal alliance treaty was signed. Humans and Apex became official partners. Trade agreements were established. Military cooperation began. Cultural exchange programs were created. And in every human Apex facility, coffee machines were installed as cultural accommodation. The Apex never drank it,